Hello everyone and welcome to art class. So Flutter has many built-in widgets, but sometimes you want to draw something completely custom. And there's a widget called CustomPainter that allows you to do that. So in order to use it, we need to define a custom paint widget. And we're going to give it two properties. So first is the size, basically how big you want your painting canvas to be. Since this is art class, we're just going to use the whole screen to draw. To get the full screen size, you can use mediaQuery.ofContext.size. And then you need to give this widget a painter. The painter is kind of like your paintbrush in this case. So we don't have our paintbrush created yet to pass in there, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to call it my painter. So our painter needs two methods, a paint method and a should repaint method. So the paint method you could think of as the actual place where the painting happens, where you actually use the paintbrush. And then should repaint allows you to define when you want your canvas or your painting to be repainted. Maybe you only want to do it whenever you click a button. Basically, you just get control of it. What we're going to do in this case is just always repaint it. So we can finally pass our paintbrush to this widget over here. And we're missing a bracket at the bottom. So our canvas is ready to go. We're ready to paint. This paint method is where you become the artist. So what is the first thing an artist needs? He needs this paintbrush. And you do that by defining a paint. And this one's going to be our line paintbrush, the paintbrush we use to create lines. And you define how big that paintbrush is. This case is going to be 10 pixels. So I have a paintbrush that paints lines that's 10 pixels big. And then you go to your canvas. And then you just draw the line using your paintbrush. So we're going to want to start our brush stroke at the point 50 and 150. You can think of that as pixels from the top left. So from the top left, we're going 50 pixels X and 150 pixels down. So that was going to be our first point, and then our second point is going to be at 220, 150 and 220. So we're going to go over X 150 and down 220. And which paintbrush are we going to use? We're going to use the line paintbrush. There you go. So there's draw a line. We use this line paintbrush that is 10 strokes wide. If we change it to 5, you'll see it'll get smaller, but we want to keep it at 10. You start your brush stroke at 50 and then down 150 and end at 150 and down 220. So that's where we drew our first line. We're going to draw a matching line coming from the right side. So we have the size of our canvas. So if we do size.width, that means this point right here. We can subtract 50 from it, and we'll have the point 50 and 150. So the matching equivalent coming from the other side. And we could do the same thing here. There we go. So we have matching lines painted on both sides. Next, we're going to want to draw a circle, and we want to use a different paintbrush for this one. We're going to call this the circle paintbrush. And this one we're not going to do anything special with. We just want the circle. So we go back to our canvas. And we want to be doing this inside the paint method, not in the middle of nowhere. Okay. And then we want to draw a circle. So the C defines where the center of our circle is going to be. The center will be at 50 and 150. The radius, we're going to give it a radius of 20, and we're going to use this paintbrush to draw it. And I don't think that's where we want it. Let's put it at 100 and 250 instead. There we go. And we can draw a matching one coming from the other side. You can probably see where this is going. We got our little eyeballs. Next, we're going to draw the mouth. For this, we're going to use a different paintbrush again. I'm going to use an arc paintbrush. It's going to have a stroke of the same thing as our eyebrows. And it's going to have a painting style of stroke. What stroke does, it basically gives it an outline. You saw how in the circle we have the middle is all filled in. If we don't do that, if we don't do stroke, it'll be open. So for a stroke, it makes it so that it gives an outline. In the circle, we didn't define a paint style of stroke, so it got filled in. Now with stroke, it won't get filled in. For this one, we're going to be drawing an arc. And you need a lot of properties for this. So we know the paintbrush is the easy one. And when you're drawing an arc, it's drawing an arc to fit inside the given rectangle. For that, we will need to define a rectangle. So this defines what point from the left, top, width, and height you want. So I want it 105 from the left, 350 from the top, with a width of 220 and a height of 300. Then we need a starting angle and a sweeping angle. For that, we will do math.pi. We can bring in, we want both of these angles to be pi. So we bring in our math library. And we can do math.pi. We're going to do the same thing here, and then center, we're just going to call true. So if we save it, here we go. We have a custom looking guy that we drew that stares at our users angrily if they do something bad. In this case, it's just always staring at them. So this is how you use CustomPainter. You first need to define your canvas using custom paint, give it a size, how big you want it to be. And then you have the painter, which is like your paintbrush. You can define when you want to paint it. And then here you define what kind of paintbrush you want, how you want to draw it, where you want to draw it. And then you can create masterpieces like this.